Hello and welcome, it's time for another colourful edition of A Splash of Paint, brought to you in association with the SAA. Let's dive straight in and take a closer look at some of the latest tips, tricks and techniques coming up on today's programme. Popular pastel artist Vic Bearcroft returns to demonstrate how to paint the seascape at sunset in today's spectacular Try Your Hand Out project. We'll be journeying to the beautiful Cumbrian countryside to take a sneak peek behind the doors of the Derwent factory to see how their innovative products have been inspiring artists across the globe since 1832. And I'll be showing you how to take man's best friend on an artistic journey before dipping into the Splash of Paint postbag to answer a few more of your artistic questions. Let's get started and welcome back into the Splash of Paint studio everybody's favourite perennial pastel artist Vic Bearcroft, as he demonstrates how to paint a seascape at sunset in part one of today's Try Your Hand Out project.
Hi, today we're going to be painting a seascape sunset. Sunset seascape. It's always a little bit difficult. When I've said that before in demonstrations, you have to get the right teeth in for that one. So a sunset scene of the Pembrokeshire coast, where I was last year. This photograph was taken, probably about a year ago, and I was doing a workshop down on that lovely part of the country. The first thing I'm going to do, when I can get the masking tape straightened out, is to put a horizon line in. And I find this easier to do with a piece of masking tape. It keeps the line straight. And I, for one, am no good at drawing straight lines, so this is going to help me no end. What I'm going to do is put the tape roughly 2/3 down, so we have more going on in the sky than in the sea. And we're not going to need that there for too long. The first thing I'm going to do, once we've got that horizon line where we want it, is do a little tonal sketch. Just basically to get all the things in the right place. A compositional sketch, if you like. The first thing I want to do is just go over that line reasonably lightly with a black hard pastel. Pull that across like that and lift the tape off straight away, and there's our horizon line. So a complete waste of masking tape, but there we are. So, look at the compositional elements we've got in our photograph. We can see that there's a kind of a third of the way in from the right hand side is our vanishing point almost. And it's nice if you can have a composition that works on thirds. 2/3 sky, 1/3 land stroke sea, and then break it down into thirds horizontally as well. So, our first line will be here. This will represent the beach. And then we have a little bit of a sandbank on here, all heading towards the same area. This is going to be quite a simple sketch to start with. We'll worry about details later on. Then we've got our headland. This is a cove, actually, so we've got a headland here. Again, quite low in relation to the sky. A little bit of a rocky outcrop here. And then we have some more hills in the background, a little bit lower. And these are going to be fainter, of course. This is all part of the aerial perspective, which we'll talk about in a little while. And then we have the little village itself, just nestling in the cove here. So all we need to do at the moment is sketch in a few shapes where the houses are going. Nothing too detailed. Of course, again, if you put too much detail in something that's quite far away, then it brings it closer to you. You want to keep it quite distant. So we'll have a little village nestling there. So that's our basic compositional sketch. What I want to do then is use the side of the black pastel just to get some tonal values in. Remember, our distant hills are further away, so they're going to appear a bit paler. So using the side of our black pastel, we can begin just to get the tonal values. So the distant hills like that. What I'm doing is stroking the pastel in a downward motion as well, so that I can start to feel the actual shape of the rocks, the cliffs, and so on. This one is going to be a little bit darker. All this does, by the way, it literally sets the tone for the whole painting. So it's a monochrome sketch of the scene, if you like. Very, very simply rendered, of course. And then we've had some colour over the top of that. So there is our little rocky outcrop, hills, cliffs, a little bit closer to us. So it's a little bit darker. Anything that you see in aerial perspective, which is simply the effect of the Earth's atmosphere on what we see around us, anything that's closer will have a darker tone and have more detail. So that brings that closer to us than the other hills there, of course. And then we have the sea and the beach. what I'll do is lightly sketch in the shape of this tidal beach, I suppose, the little tidal pool down here which separates that from the main beach. Again, quite flat at the moment, not too much detail. So that leaves a little bit of open sea there, a little bit of a tide pool here, and then finally this sort of rounded stony beach. It's in fact made up of hundreds of thousands of stones. It's a pebble beach, if you like. I think I remember rightly there was a car park on the right hand side here. We won't bother with the car park today. So we'll just have a hint of that stony beach. And then our village here, well, we can worry about that when we start to put some details on shortly. And then that will also soften your marks a little bit, and it'll allow you to get more pastel on as well. The more you rub the pastel into the paper, the more colour you'll be able to get over the top of that. So, talking about colour, let's add some colours to it. First thing I want to do is to address the sky. I'm going to make it a little bit more dramatic than it is in the photograph, you know, because we're artists, we can interpret. I mean, you should interpret. If you take a photograph of something and you want it to be a little bit more vibrant, then do so. First thing I'm going to do is sketch in a bit of light on the left-hand side. Pastels, by the way, the soft pastels, they're not perfectly straight, some of these, so what I like to do is use a bit of masking tape and give it a flat spot first. So rubbing it on there, take off the sharp edges. Now, I always break these in half as well, so I end up with a nice sort of soft 1-inch paintbrush. And using the flat of that pastel, I can now start to sketch in a lighter area over here, which will represent where the sun is setting. And that's our bright area. And then what I'm going to do is take a violet. This is dioxazine violet. It's a great colour. Again, flat spot, take off the sharp edges, and I have a little bit of the cool violet in the upper part of the sky. So just spread it over like that. Try to work at an angle as well. I think it's more visually pleasing when you stroke your sky and your clouds at an angle than to do it straight across. Gives it more of a dynamism, whatever the word. It makes it more dynamic anyway. So there's a bit of purple there, and then the final basic colour of our sky is going to be this English red, which is actually a lovely soft pink. It's what you probably term as a true pastel colour, very pastel tone. So this is going to be for the lower part of the sky, just coming to the top of the hills there, merging in with our yellow and our purple to start to create a kind of dramatic sunset cloud shape and structure. And it all radiates out from this light point in the bottom there. And you can see I've left quite a lot of grey paper showing underneath. The grey paper itself will also help to create a cooler evening sky. At the same time, I'm going to just bring some of these colours down in the hills, the mountains and the sea. The distant hills, slightly paler, so we're going to use the violet for that, just going over the black tonal sketch, and this will give us a nice sort of dark, cool violet. Really pushes those hills back. This headland here, I'm going to use the darker dioxazine violet. Again, these hills are a little bit closer to us, so they'll have a nice cool evening colour, but with a darker violet. I'll drop some of these colours down into the sea here as well, so a little bit of yellow here. This is reflected light, and maybe a little bit there. And a little bit of violet more down here. Now when I'm doing reflections in water, I always stroke the pastel down and then rub it across. This will help to give the impression of the ripples in the water. But again, some pink down here into our sea. Vertical strokes, and then rub it across with the fingers. Same down here into the tide pool. Nice and strong. Stroke that across. Leave a little bit of grey because obviously the water is quite grey at that time of night. And then we'll have just a touch of green for this little green area around the village. And the final colour we're going to use for our blocking out process, which is just literally adding basic colour, is this dark orange. And it's a nice sort of golden brown orange. This is actually orange with a little bit of black added to it. And that's going to represent our beach area, the sandbank, and also our stony beach here. So just loosely put the colour on, so that we have most of our paper now filled with the tonal sketch and our basic colours that have been blocked out. So this is the end of the blocking out stage. Join me later on when we'll put some final details and highlights in.
Great composition there, Vic, and some lovely golden colours. Well folks, it's time to take a quick break now, but join us in part 2 when we'll be taking you on a fascinating behind the scenes tour of the Derwent factory, nestling in the heart of the beautiful Cumbrian countryside. See you soon.